Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit randyrhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
Oh, boys and girls, Malcolm Nance joins us now. Oh, my God. Malcolm, thank God. You know, I try and go easy because, you know, you're doing the TV, and if it's not on the TV, it didn't happen. So I leave you alone because I know you have to do it. But I had to reach out today after I saw, Bibi and the president, and the president says to the reporters, I never mentioned the word Israel when I told the Russians code word protected intelligence. I never mentioned the word Israel. They got that wrong. He's denying a story that wasn't reported. So
he's not denying a story that wasn't reported. He's verifying a story that was speculation. Oh my God, you couldn't make this up.
It's unbelievable. I was like, you moron, just shut up already. Just stop talking. Just stop it. Yeah.
No one knew who the asset belonged to or where the asset was going to be.
Oh my God.
Until he said today that, I didn't tell the Russians it was Israel. Well, you just did.
You just
did.
And
you told ISIS and the Palestinians and the Iranians, everybody. Oh my God, we've got to be a laughing stock of the foreign intelligence agencies now.
Well, the Saudis were, biting their tongue watching this idiot, and they were saying, we've never had to work with a president like this. We don't know what to do about it. But, okay, so, we'll roll out the red carpet. And, all of a sudden he's so pro-Muslim. He came to spread the love. Then he goes to Israel, where I'm surprised God didn't strike him dead at the Wailing Wall. I really did. I was. And Steve Bannon setting foot on Jewish soil. Wow. I mean, it was just. But then he does this little presser where they're supposed to shake hands, and he volunteers this information that the intel asset was from Israel. I just can't even breathe. This man is so dangerous, and it freaks me out. And his supporters, you're going to have to pry them off of him with a crowbar. There is no way. I mean, this weekend I was trolled so hard, and I spent the whole weekend talking to them. And I spent the whole weekend showing them that they knew that Flynn was a Russian agent and he was under investigation before he even came to the White House. I showed them that Pence knew this and that he lied on the TV. I showed him, I showed them the article about that he called Comey a nut job and told the Russians, now the pressure's off, I fired the nut job. And that he told classified information, not to our allies, oh no, but to the Russians, putting assets in danger, risking the lives of somebody who could possibly have infiltrated ISIS in Raqqa at the highest level. And this guy is dead. You know that, right? As an intelligence operator, you know that.
Well, I don't think he's dead, but I think he's certainly on the run.
Oh, my God. So and now Flynn this morning, I thought this will be a quiet week. He's away. This morning, Flynn takes the fifth.
Oh, you're such a fool.
Oh.
Where did you ever get that impression that things were going to be quiet?
I had my hopes.
You jinxed it.
I had my hopes. I had my dreams.
Well,
I thought this would be an easier week. We would deal with the budget, maybe some Medicaid cuts, some disability cuts, break the bad news to the people, in Appalachia and coal country that their jobs were not coming back and their checks would not be in the mail. And, we would talk about domestic things. But then all of a sudden, Flynn takes the fifth today, and the president stands up and divulges to the world that the intel he gave not to our allies but to the Russians came from Israel.
He verified. So what did the Trump people say?
He's exhausted. That's what they said. He's very tired.
I get up and I did a town hall yesterday in Berkeley of all places, and the usual Trump people didn't follow me. And even though I'm speaking about the book, Plot to Hack America,
yes,
but I had a young African-American Maoist Chinese communist follower, which is funny because even China's not Maoist anymore.
Yeah.
And trying to tell me the exact same thing, right? That's now the problem isn't Trump, the problem is the system. So, Donald Trump is now a symptom, a horrible, horrible symptom of presidency gone completely and totally off the rails. And there is no decency going on here. There is no presidential bearing. There is no norms that were established for 240 years happening in the White House right now. And at some point, and we've said this on this show before, people are going to have to choose between whether they are patriots who support America or whether they're apologists to the Kremlin. And I give when I speak to people at public forums, and we always get the pro-Trump military guy, and I go, hey man, you get to choose here: former director of the KGB, or saving America potentially from Americans who are conducting activities that could be tantamount to treason.
I mean, it is treason. If Flynn was operating, with Russia in mind and helping Russia, and, there was another news story over the weekend that said that, the Russians thought that Flynn would be very helpful to them with Trump.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
okay. And so we know the FBI spoke to Flynn on the 24th of February. He had no lawyer present, and I don't know what he told them, but whatever it was, obviously, Sally Yates, who was the Deputy Attorney General at that time, acting, ran over to, called Don McGahn, the White House counsel, and said, I can't even say this to you on the phone. I have to come over. Something really horrible is going on, and you must know. So can I come? And she went there, and she told McGahn, the president's counsel, that Flynn was compromised, that Flynn was a Russian operator, that Flynn had taken money from Turkey, that Flynn was an agent, a foreign agent of a foreign government, and he should never be made national security advisor. She says she told them this so that they would take action. And what do? They make him national security advisor and cover for him since February. It's not just that he was national security advisor for 18 days. Oh, no. Now we find out this all predates, him even entering the White House. So
right. And, I say that the best way to understand this scenario, because I feel your pain, the best way to understand this scenario, when you think of Donald Trump and you think of Michael Flynn, I want you to think of Ray Liotta and Joe Pesci in Goodfellas.
Oh, I do.
And if you see that dynamic, they're the two guys, they're just mucking around. One guy's the tough guy, the other guy's, trying to become a made man. And they, until the end, right until Joe Pesci walks into the room, right, the empty room to get shot in the head, they stick together. They just absolutely stick together. And it's only when one of the other of them is taken out that the other flips and turns state evidence.
Yeah, it becomes a rat.
And becomes a rat, right? So, if you think of the mindset of what could possibly be the motivation for Michael Flynn covering up everything. He had that meeting with the FBI. Fundamental rule, listeners, never take a meeting with the FBI
without a lawyer.
Without your lawyer present. The only power the FBI has is the fact that if you lie to them, it's a felony.
Yeah.
Anything. If you say good morning, you say good morning, and it's raining outside, they can't consider that one count of lying to a federal officer.
But you know what my favorite scene in Goodfellas is?
What's that?
It's when Henry gets busted with all the cocaine, and they bring him in, and he sees all his friends being brought in, and Perp walked in, and then the FBI says to him, "What are you going to do? Bake a cake?" Oh, yeah, right. And then he says, "Okay," he tastes it. He knows it's coke, and he says, "Bye-bye, dickhead. See you in Attica." Yeah. That's my favorite thing, and that's what we're all waiting for. When does this happen?
Well, I think Michael, and I say this quite a bit these days, Michael Flynn is the linchpin. I predicted this about 3 months ago on the Joy Reid show, where I said Michael Flynn will be the first to flip. Within 24 hours, Michael Flynn flipped. He went and tried to get immunity to the Senate, knowing that if he went to the Senate and he testified there with immunity, he would have much, much greater strength because the activities that he is potentially involved with could range from the U.S. statutes against abducting a U.S. citizen and turning him over to a foreign government.
What?
Michael Flynn.
What abduction?
You don't know about Fethullah Gulen?
Oh, yes, I do. The Turkish,
right.
The Turkish guy in Pennsylvania. Yes, okay.
Right. Well, he intended to, as a service to Turkey, to kidnap and bring that person to Turkey, which right there, just even the thought of it is conspiracy to commit abduction. That right there is a felony in Pennsylvania, federal felony, and then renditioning him at the behest of a foreign government. They can add multiple counts of conspiracy in. That's one. And we're not even talking about his contacts with the Russians, failure to register as a foreign agent, which, by the way, is not a spy. That's just that you work for a foreign government and you don't tell us. Then there are the activities that could lead up to the Espionage Act of 1917, none of which has been sussed out. Flynn is the focus of this investigation because he's the easiest one to find out numerous transgressions, and he will turn state's evidence at some point. He won't be Oliver Northing this one.
Yeah, I hate that man. Yeah, I interviewed him once, a long time ago. I'll tell it to you one day. But
over whiskey.
It didn't end well. Let's put it that way. He threw his headphones down on the. It was in person. He threw his headphones down on my desk, and called me some names after coming from the Christian Jamboree and all. I was kind of shocked, simply because I asked him, was there ever a day in your life when you stood convicted of crimes against your country? And that did him in. He just couldn't answer that question. But anyway, yeah, so what would Flynn say that would show collusion? That's the big, argument that's going on my Facebook page. Of course, I think that, the first article of impeachment against Trump is going to be obstruction of justice. Yes, and that's enough.
That was the first article against Nixon.
And also Bill Clinton. So,
right.
Yeah, that's really where it goes, first of all. Collusion, though.
Well, with regards to collusion, you need to understand that in this particular organizational chart, people are constantly looking at this little bit here, Jared Kushner's bit here, and that creates this overwhelming arc of conspiracy. Mm-hmm. Look at it this way. There are 4 streams, of organizational data which could amount to a racketeering, influencing, corrupt organization charge against all of them. And this is what I said. It won't be initially obstruction of justice. It'll be looked at under the RICO statutes because you have, in one wing, you have Jared Kushner and his affairs and banking and Russian money. Right. That's one wing. Mm-hmm. And that's, as we saw the reporting last week, the person who was a senior advisor very close to the President of the United States. That appears to be Jared Kushner, although that hasn't been confirmed yet. The second wing is the dirty tricks team, and that would be Roger Stone, Carter Page, and people who were in contact with WikiLeaks or Russian intelligence who may have, and this is all speculative, coordinated and helped them release the emails, which would have led up to Donald Trump's statement. Russia, if you're listening, please release Hillary Clinton's hacked emails. He would never have made that statement had there not been a conversation about it.
Yeah, how did he even know to talk to Russia?
all the guys sitting around drinking whiskey, right? Yeah. Like Pesci and the boys, having a good time. The third wing of that would have been the Russian sanctions lifting, which, as you saw, you had Michael Cohen, you had Michael Flynn, and
Jeff Sessions
and Jeff. I was just going to say Jeff Sessions and others, all of whom appear to be dead set to raise Russian sanctions. Right. Then you have the ringmaster. You have Paul Manafort and the close associate of the president, Michael Flynn. Manafort was very close to the pro-Moscow Ukrainian government. His job was to carry out, as part of the the torturers lobby, was to carry out anti-NATO operations and actions and pro-Moscow support for Poroshenko, the pro-Moscow leader. So he would have been the ringmaster of all of these. And they would have, without any doubt, briefed Donald Trump as to the status of some of these things.
Now, it's interesting. A lot of people were putting their bets on after the Washington Post came out with the article on Friday that said that Russia probe reaches current White House official, and a lot of people are saying what you're saying, that it's Jared Kushner, because Jared failed to disclose that he'd met with Kislyak. This Kislyak dude, when the president had Kislyak and Lavrov in the Oval Office the day after they fired Comey, and he gave this intelligence to the Russians. what was interesting is the American press, as you know, was kept out, but and nobody got the report that Kislyak was in the meeting. In fact, when they went to take a photo of Kislyak in the meeting, Henry Kissinger was in the chair. What the hell was that about? But I mean, I don't know if it's Jared Kushner. I thought when I read that it could be Michael Pence, because Pence has this strange habit of claiming to only be aware of major issues when they become public. And so Pence has said, a million times that he didn't know, until Flynn was let go, that Flynn was, a lobbyist for Turkey and taking foreign money from Russia. He didn't know. It was sandbagged. He was sandbagged. But of course, Elijah Cummings on November 18th wrote a letter to one Michael Pence saying, this guy is compromised, and you really ought not make him national security advisor. So I think that the official in the White House could be Pence, and everybody's overlooking little bobblehead Pence.
I think by the wording of the term, a senior advisor to the president, who's very close, then that just gives you 3 or 4 people. That's Reince Priebus, that's Steve Bannon, and that's Jared Kushner. And only one of them is close to the president, and that's by marriage, and that would be Jared Kushner. But, some people claim to know, and we'll find out. But he's the only one that has a problem. There's reports that he may have met in 2016 with representatives of VEB Bank, the V Bank, which is a sanctioned bank, which we believe is nothing but a bank run by the Russian intelligence services in order to facilitate money. And the head of the bank was an active Russian intelligence officer who is also on the sanctions list. Yeah. Jared Kushner has a finance problem with regards to his apartment, his building that they're building in Manhattan. 666. Building. You can't make this stuff up. But the point is that I'm trying to bring out here that there are multiple streams of activity, all of which falls under the banner Russia-Trump activity, right? Investigation. And the point that I'm trying to really make is the special counsel that has just been appointed, Counsel Mueller, excuse me, he can investigate anything in his mandate. Yeah. The same way that they found out about Hillary's private server doing Benghazi, they can investigate any financial transaction, any emoluments clause violation, any personal money making by anyone in there. And believe me, this is the one place that the Treasury Financial Crimes Division is excellent at. They are good at tracking down the bad money.
You know what's so interesting about the investigation going on at the Treasury at FinCEN is this isn't the first investigation into Donald Trump that they've ever had. When he had those casinos in New Jersey, they found a lot of dirty money and a lot of violations, failure to report and failure to account and failure to pay taxes and a whole load of crap on Donald Trump. So that particular little toilet bowl-shaped organization in Washington is, the FinCEN Department of the Treasury, is very familiar with Donald Trump and his money laundering in the past.
Sure, and you know what? They can investigate anything going all the way back to his first tax return. And if necessary, they can access his tax returns if they feel. Now, it is going to be impossible for these federal officers not to actually go up and down these tracks, with regards to, other improprieties. If they follow, like bloodhounds, anything that just seems out of the ordinary. And this is where things are going to take off for Donald Trump, for Mike Pence, for everyone associated with it. There is no way no one could not know all of this stuff that's going on in the White House, especially with regards to Russia policy apparently being tied to the lifting of sanctions. And, of course, Donald Trump himself may have to explain this. And so people want this to end now. They want it to happen this week. They want impeachment tomorrow. Can't happen. I keep saying, don't look for leaks. There's not leaks now. There is a rainfall showerhead now, of information. And by the time we finish this call, there will be another breaking news today.
I know. Stop. I just wanted to make it to Memorial Day and have a 3-day weekend. That's all I wanted this week. But listen, what is Brennan, going to testify about tomorrow? Do you have any feel for that?
Well, I think he's going to be sort of like Director Comey. He's just going to say, there's not a lot that I can say. But, you know, in the intelligence community, the one we don't look for just the facts. The thing that really gets my attention when I was an operator and I was out there doing my collections were the things I was not seeing that I should be seeing, or the activities that I should be hearing that I'm not hearing. And so we call these black holes. And sometimes you could have a constellation of activity. And then there's this giant honking black hole of where there should be like an overlap between two things, like lifting the Russian sanctions, overlapping the meeting with Kislyak.
Right.
This is where the federal investigators go. They don't, they just do their basic groundwork and they turn intelligence into evidence, and then they go, well, there's a great big giant question mark right in the middle of this room. Let's find out about that. And then they start doing these joint teams and they start filling in the black holes. The black holes are the things people plead the fifth for. And so what you do, like Michael Flynn saying he does not want it, he's going to invoke his right not to self-incriminate, although that doesn't make him guilty of anything.
Yeah.
It gives them an intelligence indicator of just exactly where Michael Flynn has spoken before, what he has said before, and what he's not going to say. And it's that confluence, that Venn diagram center that is now black, that they will focus all their attention.
Well,
and you can be darn sure they got a lot of intelligence.
Oh, I'm so sure they do. I mean, look, like we were talking about, at the beginning, February 24th, January 24th. The administration is literally 4 days old. He goes to talk to the FBI, and the FBI's interviewing him to the point where Sally Yates has to call Don McGahn and say, oh, my freaking God, I need to come and talk to you. They don't give him immunity because he's already on the record saying whatever it is he's going to say. Either he lied to the FBI and they can prove it, or he told them the truth and they won't give him immunity because any proffer would be worthless because he's already told them everything.
Absolutely, but I don't even think that we.
It's that old expression. It's that old expression. You're telling me you told me everything, and you're showing me nothing.
That's right.
Right.
Absolutely. So there's a lot to come here, but again, a lot of people out there, they all want action. They want this to end. They want people to come up and impeach him now. Like I said, this young guy yesterday, not going to happen. We are in this for the long haul, and this may take as long as a year to 2 years. The question is, the story that go back to your knitting, take a vacation, avoid the minute-to-minute heartbeat of this thing, and realize the big things to look out for are when people flip or when people testify that gives you that indication that there is a conflict in what was said. I mean, everyone should have stopped everything they were doing when Comey was contradicted by Trump, and then Trump verified everything because he can't not.
He always does this. I mean, he said this is what's so interesting, that Trump demands loyalty from Comey, and apparently loyalty is everything to him in his books and The Art of the Deal and everything. He was asked a million times in interviews, what's the most valuable trait in an employee or in a partner? And he said, loyalty. But he throws everyone under the bus. I mean, everybody. It's incredible. He actually said the other day, I can speak to you. I could tell you there's no collusion, but I can only speak for myself and the Russians.
Yeah.
What kind of a thing is that to say? Now, everybody that works for him, every aide on the campaign, every person that was on a plane with him or on a bus, they all have to go out and lawyer up now because he said, I'm only speaking for myself, indicating that others colluded with the Russians, just not me. Right.
And
what kind of I hate to say it, but he's such a douche.
Well, we are.
I can't believe that he would do that and not vouch for everybody around him and say.
I know some people who really, really know Donald Trump, including someone who wrote a book on him, and he made a relatively benign statement, which still struck me as quite surprising last week, that Donald Trump has loyalty to no one except Donald Trump, not to his family, not to his friends, not to people who work for them. Loyalty is a one-way street, and the person interviewed him by dozens and dozens of hours, watched him, followed him around, and he said, it is all about him, and no one else matters. and he said he will treat this nation the exact same way. And, apparently that it applies to the First Lady. I mean, she, I don't know if you saw a little hand slap today, but she's just not having it. And neither is the American public. Certainly the new budget that's about to be launched is going to put us on a fresh round of outrage.
Oh, listen, I mean, if you can't peel these people off of him with this, because espionage is a crime in this country, and they only care if it hits them at home where they live and work and breathe and feed their children, then this budget ought to do it. I mean, this is a brutal, nasty, horrendous, ugly document. Ugly. I mean, this man who was on the campaign trails, you got to save Medicaid and Medicare. You can't touch Social Security. Got to do it. And we have to, people. But this budget takes everything that he said and turns it on his head, just like, America first. Then the Saudis pony up about $20 billion to buy our roads, bridges, tunnels, and airports, and give a whole bunch of billions to Ivanka, which he said, if Hillary, I mean, can you imagine Hillary Clinton, when she got money for the Clinton Foundation, they said, oh, well, this is one of the most repressive regimes and women and blah, blah, blah. She needs to give the money back. Well, they give the money to Ivanka. Now, all of a sudden, I come to the cradle of Islam and I bring love to you, and I'm not here to criticize you. I'm here to tell you it's a great religion. I'm not here to lecture you. And what the hell was that about? I mean,
it's just
one of the
Donald
most closed.
Donald being Donald.
It's a hereditary dictatorship. And he's in there saying, this is the way it should be. This is a great place. I really look at this grandeur. And isn't this great? And then goes off to Israel and tells the press, let me confirm something for you. I did give the info, not to our allies. I gave it to Russia, who is an American adversary. And it did come from Israel. But I didn't say that. I didn't. He did. You know what I mean? What is wrong with him? He will sell everybody and anybody down the river. Everybody.
Well, the best thing that we can hope for now is that as the wheels start to come off the bus, that there are people who are watching him carefully, and that, Mike Pence, as you already see, is positioning himself for the post-Donald Trump presidency.
Mike Pence is... No, Malcolm, Mike Pence is going also because of this Elijah Cummings letter. Just that alone, and there is more, but just that letter alone dated November 18th, 2016, where Elijah Cummings tells Dear Vice President-elect Pence, okay, he says, I'm writing to raise questions about the apparent conflicts of interest of the vice chairman of the presidential transition team, retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, who reportedly has been selected by the president-elect to be his national security advisor. Lieutenant General Flynn was receiving classified briefings during the campaign while his consulting firm, Flynn Intel Group, was being paid to lobby the U.S. government on behalf of foreign government interests. How could Pence sit there and say on the TV, I didn't know until they fired him? I didn't know. It's a lie. He's going to. And so is Ryan. Ryan is going to, because Nunes, remember the whole, ridiculousness with Nunes saying that he's canceling Brennan. This is why Brennan's going tomorrow. Because Sally Yates and Brennan were going to testify, and he cancels it after he said, I had some intel I had to bring to the White House. And it turns out he got it from the White House and told Paul Ryan this. And Paul Ryan said, all right, then just go to the White House and pretend you're giving them something when really they're giving it to you. They're all going, Malcolm. They're all going. This isn't just Flynn. This isn't just Manafort. This isn't Carter Page alone. This isn't Sessions alone. This is all of them. This is the president of the United States, the vice president of the United States, and possibly the speaker of the House. I mean, we could be in line for a President Orrin Hatch.
Yeah, well, I am not an advocate of that, and I know there's some people out there on some right-wingers in the left-wing world who are advocates of that, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think you're going to have, I think you will have an impeachment at some point.
Oh, I do too.
I know that Donald Trump will not accept resignation as a factor, and as I said, I've spoken to some people that know Donald Trump very well, and they said he will never ever resign.
Well, you
He
know, it's interesting.
He will want a conviction on the impeachment.
I just finished reading. I was reading Michael D'Antonio's book, The Truth About Trump, and so I called him, and he came on the show, and I asked him, because he knows Trump pretty well, and I asked him if he thought that Trump would face impeachment and removal, or would he resign? And he said, "Hell no, he'll resign." He said there's no way that he will be the first American president to be removed, impeached and removed in the modern presidency. He said it's never going to happen. He wouldn't do it. It would be too humiliating for him. He would just say, "You know what, you guys, you lost. You lost a great opportunity here, and it would have been fantastic." And he said that his best guess is that he would never go through it. Because, and you know, when you look at him, Malcolm, when you look at, I mean, the lies he tells about, I never settle a case, because then they see he settled every case since his dad. Every single case they settled, every single one, from the case of the not renting to African Americans, the Urban League case that was brought. Right. They settled that. I mean, they settled everything. He settled cases against the women. He settles all the time. He settled the fraud case with Trump University, said he'd never settle. And Judge Curiel is not really a judge because he's a Mexican, but he settles $25 million worth of settling. So I don't, he is a settler. He is.
Well, this is all going to be fascinating, I think, over the next couple of years, or the next year. People are constantly trying to game this out. Yeah. And I think, considering as how fast it's moved, we're not even in the first 4 months of a presidency.
It's so sad. I know. Today's like day 122, I think.
But the key question that you and your audience need to ask yourself is, when is the fever going to break for the Republican Party? When is it going to be enough? And I was told by some true experts, people that really knew the numbers, who really knew Donald Trump, that it's going to have to drop another 5 points. And those people are going to have to be Trump supporters. It's going to have to go down to 31% before the Republican Party will peel off. They have an agenda that they want no matter what. And, I mean, you have to give them credit. They remain focused. The point is that, when are patriots going to stand up and say, that my country is more important to me at this point? Yeah, and who knows?
These are not those people. These people that came in with the Tea Party crowd, these people that are serving now, these aren't the Republicans of the bygone era. These aren't McCain's. These aren't Barry Goldwater's, who was, completely right wing. I mean, uber right wing.
Well,
But they had a little bit of decency. This is not that. These people are not them.
Everybody you talked about fought in World War II, and they understood the values, and they understood what the goals of the United States were, and they understood that the United States is a shiny beacon on the hill, and we have values which need to be exported overseas, and that we can disagree without being disagreeable, and that the other Americans who are Democrats are also patriots also. Yeah. That has gone out the window.
It really has.
One last point I'd like to make. People, I just had 1,000 people yesterday ask me almost in unison, what do we do? What can we do? And I cannot emphasize enough that I did not spend my entire life in the armed forces and not have you exercise your First Amendment rights to speak out, to peacefully assemble. As a matter of fact, on June 3rd, there's going to be nationwide marches for March for the Truth, right? Which is the March for the Truth in the Russian, in the Trump-Russia saga. And people should get out there. I mean, it started off with just one woman who was creating her own march in Union Square, and now it's in 31 different states and 6 different countries.
I gotta tell you, my radiologist, okay, she is like, I'm serious. She's like, where do I go? What do I do? Randy, I know you'll know. I need to do this. I need to do something. I'll get all these women. I'll bring them all to you. Blah blah blah. I mean,
June 3rd. March for the Truth.
Exactly. So, well, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time today, because, this last 2 weeks was just a mind blower. It just happened so fast. And, if you want to see something really gross, go to my Facebook page. It's the Randi Rhodes Show, not my personal page, but the show page. And
read the comment.
Oh my God! I mean,
you can't beat my 31 death threat.
It's not even that. It's the language and the insults and all. It's not even that. What bothers me is how completely accepting they are of this behavior that jeopardizes our national security, with a president that obviously can be purchased, that could go to Saudi Arabia and just lick Saudi butt, and and pull us out of a nuclear agreement where it's working, and their own administration says that they're complying, and we have inspections and blah blah. It is an amazing thing that they are so married to this guy. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Well, what can you say?
I don't know what it is.
It's a new America, and we are going to have to. Another thing that I like to tell my audience is that 50% of the voting public did not come out to the last election.
Yeah.
So don't sit here and cry. It's simple. Every person who goes to the polls, bring a person who did not vote in the last election with you to the 2018 election. This is going to matter. And if that's the case, then we'll have, there will be 120 million votes. That will allow your voice to be heard.
Yes, and the crazy thing is there are more of us than there are of them. So, and by us, I mean people who care about the United States.
So we gotta motivate everybody.
Well, Malcolm Nance, The Plot to Hack America. Buy that book. It's a great read. Has just been invaluable to my sanity today. So thank you so very
You're welcome.
much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right,
Take care.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Breathe. All right. On the other side. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.